Hi and welcome to WoW Flash. This is my weekly series where I look at all the news items that are of interest to my channel at any rate, from anything to do with Warcraft from the past 7 days. So the first one up, which caught my eye, that was posted yesterday by Blizzard, was, at first I looked at it, I thought that's a bit strange, but then I realised what it was. They're going to, in 7.2, they're going to disable the ability for add-ons to modify the way nameplates appear in instances in dungeons and raids. Well, that's a bit funny. They did go on to sort of talk about the fact that they really like the creativity that people use to create add-ons, and World of Warcraft has been known for something that actually does promote people producing add-ons for the game. There are other games and MMOs that don't encourage it and flatly try to prevent it. So I thought this was a bit strange because they're going on to say, well, they're not going to stop these add-ons working outside instances, just inside. Strange. I think it's something to do with Mythic Star Augur. Mythic Star Augur, a boss I'm hoping to finally get onto on Monday. Should have been there by now. But there's a particular mechanic where you get star signs above your head and you have to sort of bump with someone who's got the same one, but not with someone with a different one. Bad. This is the source of a lot of wipes, I gather. So there's a particular add-on which puts, instead of the more subtle star sign pattern that Blizzard intend, a really big obvious sign above your head that you can easily see someone else with the same one without really having to think about it. So you go bumping together and the mechanic, apparently, it doesn't become an issue as long as everyone has that add-on. So Blizzard are not keen on that. It's interesting to note that the same patch 7.2, so I assume that it takes some work for them to do it. They're, usually with a decision like this, if they say, no, we don't like that, we're going to stop it, usually delaying it means either they've decided that too many people have already killed the boss with it, and it wouldn't be fair on the ones who are just about to kill it, which is possible, or just that it requires some work for which they're going to need to delay it to the next patch. I don't know which of those is the case, but there you go. So I suppose until patch 7.2, if you're on Mythic Star Augur, we'll still be able to use it, but you'll have to use something else afterwards. Actually do the fight properly. There was something else about the mounts. Now, when 7.2 comes out, we know we're going to be getting class-specific mounts and other things as well for doing a class quest line, which is supposed to be something that is reasonably challenging, along the same lines as the Warlock Green Fire quest that was in Mists of Pandaria. Now, one of the things they've said is that they want to keep the acquisition of these things in the game beyond artifacts. So when the next expansion comes out, artifacts will be a thing of the past, but they still want players who didn't get it at the time to be able to go back and get it. So they said they're going to have to think of ways in which that's going to be possible when we won't actually have artifacts. What's interesting, just to draw a little parallel, I don't know whether that means they might change their mind on this one as well. They've already said, I mean, obviously one of the things we do as we go through Legion, we unlock certain achievements, is we get different skins for our artifact weapon. Now, Blizzard have already stated that when the next expansion comes out, and again, artifact weapons are no longer a thing, that we will still have access to those skins as a transmog. But they seem to be indicating that it wouldn't be, in fact, they, I think, pretty much said that it wouldn't be possible to acquire them when the next expansion comes out. So it'll just be a legacy thing. If you happen to get them during Legion, you'll have them available for transmog. But if you're a player that starts playing after Legion, or at least plays that class after Legion, that you won't be able to obtain them in the next expansion. I don't know whether that means that they'll be softening their stance on that one or not. But anyway, at least, they have said that the class maps will be available, and it's not going to be just automatically, because that could be the thing. I mean, we used to have class quests for mounts or paladins and warlocks at any rate. I suppose druids got a different form in Burning Crusade as well. And now, of course, we just get those mounts as standard when you roll one of those classes and get to the correct level. I was thinking maybe the same thing would apply here. When the next expansion comes out, everyone of that class just gets that mount. Not so. They're going to come up with a way of questing to get it. They just haven't decided what yet, or at least not really revealing any details. On to legendaries. I've talked enough about legendaries for now. It's always going to be a topic that crops up. But there was an interesting little thing. Again, there's always a constant back and forth with the legendary system. I think it is fair to say a lot of people aren't too keen on it. But there's an interesting question here that was asked. It says, why are Brewmasters the only spec in the game with 2 legendaries in the same armor slot, the belt? I didn't actually know this. Don't play a Brewmaster. That's a bit weird, isn't it? Yeah, having 2 legendaries in the same slot. And as Blizzard say, you should be able to swap them in and out according to the situation. And they try and convince us that, con being the operative part of that word there, that they can always be useful in different situations. Does seem strange, doesn't it, that you would have, for the same spec, 2 legendaries occupy the same slot. But the response, there's nothing sort of odd behind it. The response came, honestly, because we screwed up, but there's no real fix at this point now that both items have been out there for all this time. So it was just a cock-up. Strange cock-up, though, isn't it? Could you imagine no one realised this? It also means no one pointed it out during the alpha and beta phase, though, doesn't it? How odd. No monks pointed this out when the game was still in beta, because at that point they could have easily changed it. Odd. There was another one talking about the old artifact level 54, okay, which is a thing that's going to be sort of changed a little in 7.2. But for the now, in the here and now, what someone was asking is the question was, you know, that they design raid bosses around 54 traits, which is sort of true. I mean, what Blizzard have said is they designed Star Augur onwards in Nighthold around having artifact level 54. The reason they gave was they know it's not that they intended when they were first designing it people to have that level. It's just that they noted, well, people had it anyway, so we'll tune it around that for the harder bosses, the last 3 harder bosses. So someone has noted that, well, you know, if you're going to tune the bosses around these artifact levels, well, of course people are going to farm them. The response was that they completely agree and that Tomb of Sargeras will be different. That won't be the case. I would still argue that this misses the point. People will still farm it if it's going to give you a competitive advantage. It's, you know, you don't just think, well, this boss is attuned around this set of gear. Everyone makes mistakes on these fights, and everyone knows that the better your gear is, the more forgiving those things are. I mean, how many people have killed a boss for the first time, Farron? The second time they've killed it, they actually didn't do as good a job. In a month's time, you will actually be doing a worse job on the boss, but you'll be one-shotting it because your gear's carrying you. And that's why, because people are taking the piss trying to rank and things like that, and are actually playing very badly, or playing the encounter very badly at any rate, if not, you know, not their class necessarily. And sometimes you'll be left thinking after 4 weeks of clearing it, how are we killing this boss? If we'd have played like this when we were first killing it, we would never have killed it. And so, you know, you're always going to, if there's a way to make your artifact stronger, people will still farm it. So I still think they're missing the point. But it is interesting to note that, you know, they're not going to tune any of the bosses around 54. They're confident that their cunning little plan for artifact power in 7.2 is going to work. Well, we will see. We will see. I think it's a step in the right direction, but I don't think it, you know, if it's possible to farm it, it'll be farmed. Last couple of things. First of all, again, this is more in preparation for 7.2. Each week we get a weekly quest type thing from one of the majors outside Violet Hold in Dalaran. I don't usually mention much about this, but this week it is the one where you complete 20 wheel quests, which of course you're going to do in a week anyway if you're going to do your emissary cache, which you should, of course, for legendaries. I think I got my 6th legendary this week, and it's at least the 3rd from an emissary cache. Can't now remember, but at least, because there's one legendary I can't remember where I got it from, but I've had at least 3 of those from emissary caches, so you always want to be doing those. But I mean, of course I could have built up the bad luck protection from other content, but nonetheless got them from a cache. But also you get 5,000 order resources. Now when 7.2 comes out, there's going to be more research in the order hall, and it's going to cost a lot of order resources. I think the way things are at the moment, we're going to want about another 50,000 order resources to do that research. So you might as well you don't need 50,000 when it first comes out, because there's a time gating behind it as well. But you'll want to stockpile where you can. So when these things come up where it's just an easy 5,000 for doing what you would do normally anyway, then you might as well use it. And then the last thing is a hot fix to do with Mythic Plus Dungeons. I don't think it's really relevant right at the moment. But Necrotic, which is one of the... Well, it's an affix it depends what tank you've got, I suppose, as to how unpleasant it is and which dungeon you do, because if it's dungeon where you can crowd control the mobs really easily, it's not that bad. And with certain tanks, again, not that bad. But Necrotic is the one where you get hit and it puts a debuff on you, which reduces the amount of healing incoming. And this can easily stack up to the point where you've got no healing incoming at all. So at that point, the healer can do nothing to you. So you just need to run like hell or kill the stuff really quickly. And then what usually happens is when you've killed one trash pack, you're having to wait for the debuff to tick away before you can pull the next trash pack so that it fades off you. So they've hot fixed it now so that it will automatically fade when you leave combat. So when you're out of combat, it'll be gone. So that's a good improvement, and that's hot fixed, so that should be relevant now. So the next time Necrotic comes in, can't actually remember what we're on this week. I haven't done a Mythic Plus yet, but I'm pretty sure that's not it. But when it does come in, then that would be really useful. So there we go. Those are the main news items of interest from the past week for me. Thanks very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share for further content. And until next time, I'll see you later.